Hey everyone, welcome back to dinner today. I know many of you have been holding for years, some of you since 2012, maybe earlier, and I know the emotions that come with that. Hope mixed with skepticism, exhaustion mixed with determination. You've heard 1,000 rumors, watched 100 channels, and honestly, some days it feels like the noise drowns out everything else. But something shifted this week, not in the way the hype channels are spinning it, not with secret meetings or insider codes, but in a way that serious observers are actually paying attention to. And I want to walk you through it clearly because once you understand the structure behind what's happening, a lot of that noise starts to disappear. Now, let me be direct with you right up front. I'm not here to promise you overnight results. There are no secret events. There are no fantasy timelines. What I am going to do is show you what actually changed, what didn't change, and most importantly, what matters going forward. By the end of this video, you'll have clarity on the real structural progress happening in Iraq, why institutional voices are suddenly using different language, and what that means for your position. Stay with me because this is the kind of analysis you won't find in the rumor mill. Let's start with what actually came out this week. Iraq's industry minister chaired a government meeting focused on revenue maximization. Now, on the surface, that sounds bureaucratic and boring, but here's what that means. Iraq has operated for 2 decades without a revised exchange rate mechanism, 20 years. That doesn't mean they won't revise it. It means the systems, the infrastructure, the institutional framework necessary to support a revised rate are now being built in real time, and this connects to something bigger. Military intelligence in Iraq just seized nearly 250,000 narcotic pills in Anbar province. You might be thinking, what does drug enforcement have to do with currency? Everything. Because the same digital systems that allow coordinated law enforcement operations are the systems that underpin modern financial infrastructure. Iraq is catching criminals, extraditing terrorists from Syria for prosecution, and building legal cases using integrated data systems. That's not a coincidence. That's infrastructure. Stay with me here because this part is important. When you see Standard & Poor's, one of the most conservative credit rating agencies in the world, publicly acknowledge Iraq's progress, that's not hype. That's institutional validation. When a U.S. senator goes on record saying Iraq has made remarkable progress in its development paths, that's not rumor. That's political alignment. Now, I want to address something honestly. Some people in this space are saying nothing will happen during Ramadan. Others are waiting for a prime minister to be selected before anything moves forward. And yes, it's been 3 months since the November election. No president selected yet. No prime minister was announced. On the surface, that looks like a stall. But let me offer you a different lens. What if the delay isn't dysfunctional? What if it's strategic? Think about it. If you were coordinating a significant financial restructuring, would you rush to install leadership before the systems were ready? Or would you wait until digital infrastructure, banking reforms, and trade coordination were in place so that when leadership is announced, execution can happen immediately? Here's where this gets interesting. We keep hearing about the digital dinar. It's not a rumor anymore. It's a functioning stable coin that runs Iraq's digital financial system. The same kinds of systems are being implemented in the United States and coordinated globally. And if you look at the broader trajectory, low inflation, strong reserves, political clarity, digital readiness, these aren't random developments. They're the building blocks of full participation in the global financial system. Now, most people stop here. They see progress and they assume that means imminent revaluation, but there's more. Because the question isn't just whether Iraq is ready. The question is whether the geopolitical environment supports it. And that's where the Trump administration's approach becomes critical. President Trump has made it clear he's not negotiating or compromising with outside influence, particularly from Iran. When it comes to Iraqi politics, if the goal is to transform Iraq into a financial and economic powerhouse, you need a government in place that aligns with that vision. A government that won't betray foreign policy agreements. And that takes time, not because of incompetence, but because of strategy. Let me say this plainly. As investors, if we have any real chance of seeing a restatement of the Iraqi dinar, it will happen under conditions of political stability, institutional readiness, and international coordination. All 3 of those elements are converging right now. Not perfectly, not overnight, but visibly. Now, here's what didn't change. The fundamentals of your position, the reason you got into this in the first place. Iraq is still one of the most resource-rich nations on earth. The infrastructure is still being built. The partnerships are still being formed. What has changed is the pace of institutional acknowledgement, the language from ratings agencies, the tone from political delegations on the ground. And I know some of you are thinking, but when does this actually happen? And I understand that question. I've been holding it since 2012. I know what it's like to watch years go by. But here's what I've learned. Structural change doesn't operate on rumor timelines. It operates on execution timelines, and execution requires preparation. So what should you be watching? Watch for government formation, watch for IMF statements on currency flexibility, watch for continued institutional validation from credit agencies, watch for trade agreements that require currency convertibility. These are the markers that matter, not rumors, not intel calls, not secret sources. Let me also address something practical. Some people are waiting for redemption centers or special appointments. I don't put much stock in that. I think the safest path forward is working through established banks. Know your local options, understand the process, have a plan that doesn't rely on unverified structures. Preparation beats speculation every single time. And I want to acknowledge something honestly. The United States is going through a lot right now. The world is going through a lot. Change is uncomfortable. Transition is messy. But that doesn't mean progress isn't happening. It just means it's happening in the middle of complexity. And if you can stay focused, if you can tune out the noise, you'll see the trajectory clearly. Because here's the truth. Iraq is not going to announce a reevaluation in a vacuum. It will happen when the systems are ready, when leadership is aligned, when international coordination is in place, and when execution can be sustained. That's not hype. That's how financial restructuring works at a national level. So where does that leave you? It leaves you exactly where you've been, but with more clarity. You're holding an asset in a country that is visibly building the infrastructure for currency modernization. You're watching institutional voices shift from skepticism to acknowledgement. You're seeing geopolitical alignment that supports long-term stability. And you're doing the hardest thing any investor can do, which is waiting with discipline. I know that's not the answer. Some of you want a date, you want a rate, you want certainty. But what I can give you is better. I can give you structure, I can give you context, and I can give you the reassurance that what you're seeing is real progress, not fantasy. Stay calm, stay prepared, keep watching the markers that matter, and remember the noise will always be louder than the signal, but the signal is there. You just have to know where to look. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting this channel to give you clarity instead of hype. I'll be back soon with more updates as things develop. Until then, preparation beats speculation. Take care.